Good morning, Ozarks. You're tuned in to Casey and Calhoun, and today we're diving into something that's about to shake the State House, the EDMONDS Act. And let me tell you, this bill doesn't tiptoe. It kicks the damn door in.
Folks, we've read legislation before, but we've never seen anything like this. This isn't a bill. This is a siren.
We are going to read the majority of it to you and then go back and discuss portions. This isn't the entire bill, but a good majority of it. The rest is posted online at WeMatter.life. And here we go. The EDMONDS Act, ensuring dignity and medical oversight, notification, disclosure, and safety. The Kenny Dean Edmonds Patient Safety and Advocacy Act, the bill that refuses to whisper. This bill may pass or it may not. But right now, at this moment, I have about 15 minutes to say what everyone thinks and feels. The ones who tear me apart for it just look complicit. The ones who agree, agree. I doubt there has ever been a bill like this presented. And it is about time someone called it what it is and stopped dancing around Big Pharma and these institutions. Enough.
Name for Kenny Dean Edmonds. Husband, father, coach, and a man who was deeply loved. Let's set the record straight right now. Kenny had a protector. He had a family that fought for him, stood up for him, and loved him fiercely. But the medical system is designed to isolate patients. It is built to lock the doors, shut out the loved ones, and ensure that no matter how hard a family member screams, nobody has to listen. You shouldn't have to be a 24-hour military guard at your spouse's bedside just to keep them from being killed by negligence. But that is exactly where we are. Modern healthcare has devolved into a multi-billion-dollar game of whack-a-mole. A symptom pops up, sedate it. A patient complains, give them fluids and clear the bed. Doctors don't talk to nurses. Specialists don't talk to each other. And nobody listens to the person in the bed. They treat sick human beings like worthless pieces of trash, checking boxes to protect their massive financial assets while the people who depend on them are left to die from things that were completely preventable.
This document isn't just a bill. It is a public call-out of a toxic culture that has been coddled for decades. Right now, our hospitals are being run like a high school where the mean girls have total control of the hallways, and the teachers are actively looking the other way just to avoid conflict. The aggressors, hospital systems, and administrative bullies who treat patient care like an assembly line and compliance like a joke. They know they have billions of dollars in assets to bury their mistakes, so they treat patients and their families with utter contempt. The bystanders, the regulatory bodies, the politicians, and the administrators who see the red flags, hear the complaints, and choose to do absolutely nothing because confronting the corporate medical machine is uncomfortable. This is absolute bull, S-H-I-T. We have watched everyone dance around these hospitals for decades, keeping quiet, signing non-disclosure agreements, and sweeping bodies under the rug. In a single Missouri town of 10,000 people with zero advertising, over 1,000 stories of preventable harm emerged from one single institution. 1,000 families who were gaslit, ignored, or threatened. That isn't an oversight. That is a culture of systemic cruelty protected by cowardice.
The grift, blood money, kickbacks, and fake A grades. A hospital's fundamental goal should be to go out of business, meaning their entire mission should be to cure everyone and profit nothing. Instead, healthcare has become a predatory racket. The double-billing horse pucky, charging $100 for a single aspirin, double-billing insurance companies, and lining the pockets of administrators and doctors with corporate kickbacks is absolute malarkey. The top of the dung pile. While patients suffer substandard, lethal care, these institutions flash A safety grades from corrupt outside grading organizations. Our oversight has become a joke because everyone is too busy watching how politically correct they are instead of looking at the body count. The medication conveyor belt. The word on the street is clear: don't go. People are choosing to flee the pharmaceutical grid and return to natural remedies just to survive. Why? Because the corporate playbook is to force medications down a patient's throat, declare them brain dead, and harvest their organs. In modern healthcare, human organs have been turned into gold bars of currency for the hospital balance sheet. People just want to die with basic human dignity, not be sold off for parts.
There is not a family member in the world who would say this bill shouldn't pass. If anyone stands against it, they are openly admitting that they profit from keeping victims quiet. This systemic crap has been happening for decades in Branson, Missouri. If it's this bad here, how many other towns are suffering in silence? The demands, the bodyguard law. If the system refuses to police itself, then the law will force an independent eyeball into the room. We are stripping the hospital of its power to isolate and silence. Hospitals use isolation to control the narrative. This section smashes the door open. The 4-hour rule: if a patient or family demands a trained independent advocate, the hospital must grant access within 4 hours. No stalling. Unrestricted bedside presence interference is an offense. Any doctor, administrator, or nurse who blocks, delays, or bullies an advocate or family member will face immediate state sanctions.
Fines can no longer be treated as a minor cost of doing business for billion-dollar corporations. $10,000 minimum fine for every instance where a hospital fails to notify a patient of their rights or tries to keep loved ones out. $25,000 minimum fine for withholding medical charts. The 3 strikes shutdown. 3 or more verified violations within 12 months triggers an immediate state takeover of licensing and a mandatory public safety investigation. The corporate hall of shame. Every violation, every cover-up, and every fine will be hosted on a transparent, uneditable public registry. Let the community see exactly who is running the school.
Under the EDMONDS Act, the medical chart is a legal crime scene. Altering charts causes deaths. The felony upgrade: any healthcare professional, administrator, or IT personnel who deletes, alters, backdates, or retroactively corrects a medical record to obscure a mistake shall be charged with a Class D felony, tampering with medical evidence. Mandatory jail time. Conviction carries a mandatory minimum prison sentence. A corporate fine cannot substitute for a prison cell. Anyone whose name is on that record who knew about the error and failed to point it out is legally complicit. Immediate license revocation. Any licensed professional found guilty of altering a medical chart will have their license permanently revoked. They will never touch a patient, work in, or run a healthcare facility again. The 24-hour clock. Complete, live, uneditable access to medical records must be delivered within 24 hours of a request. The retaliation clause, responding to a family's records request with legal threats, defamation warnings, or intimidation, is a perversion of justice and triggers an immediate mandatory investigation by the Attorney General.
When Kenny Dean Edmonds died, his protector didn't get truth or condolences. She got a defamation warning from a multi-billion-dollar entity trying to bully her into the dark. They tried to quiet her because they knew what the evidence would show, but they underestimated who they were dealing with.
Whether the politicians in the Capitol have the spine to pass this bill or not, the truth is out. The days of dancing around these hospitals and staying quiet are officially over. The EDMONDS Act is the reckoning. Okay, let us all take that in for a minute. This is a bill that is to be presented to first Missouri, then Washington. Wow.
And now we're handing this over to the Vital Signs and Verdicts panel, because this isn't just legislation, this is a cultural earthquake.
Thanks, guys. For your audience that may not know us, I am Liam, a former hospital administrator turned whistleblower, and I am here with the rest of the Vital Signs and Verdicts panel. Hope, a former surgical RN who personally survived a systemic failure. Dr. Pete, a psychologist who helps choose juries for high-profile cases. And Dr. Tyler, a medical doctor with a Juris Doctorate. Okay, now, I've read thousands of pages of hospital policy, CMS regulations, Joint Commission standards. I have never seen a bill speak like this. Let's start with the line, this document isn't just a bill, it is a public call-out of a toxic culture that has been coddled for decades. That is not political language. That is a whistleblower's language. That is someone documenting a pattern of harm.
And it's accurate. I lived inside that toxic culture. When the bill says, right now, our hospitals are being run like a high school where the mean girls have total control of the hallways. People laugh at that line because it sounds dramatic, but it's not. Cliques run units. Favoritism determines care. Retaliation determines who speaks up. If you're not in the right circle, you're disposable.
From a psychological standpoint, that line is devastating. Because it's true. Hospitals often operate on social hierarchy, not medical necessity. And when a bill calls that out, it's not just describing behavior, it's describing power. Then you get this line: you shouldn't have to be a 24-hour military guard at your spouse's bedside just to keep them from being killed by negligence. That's not hyperbole. That's trauma. That's what families tell me in office sessions.
And then the bill says they treat sick human beings like worthless pieces of trash. That's not metaphor. That's a legal assertion of systemic devaluation. In law, when you describe a class of people as worthless, you're establishing pattern, motive, and foreseeability. That's how you build a case for criminal negligence.
And then this line, this one made me stop. 1,000 families who were gaslit, ignored, or threatened. That isn't an oversight. That is a culture of systemic cruelty protected by cowardice. I worked in administration. I saw the gaslighting. I saw the threats. I saw the cover-ups. This bill doesn't whisper. It names the disease.
And then it drops this bomb. In modern healthcare, human organs have been turned into gold bars of currency for the hospital balance sheet. That's not something you expect to see in legislation. That's something you expect to hear in a horror film. But it's true. Organs are revenue, transplants are revenue, patients become inventory.
And then this: our oversight has become a joke because everyone is too busy watching how politically correct they are instead of looking at the body count. That's not subtle. That's a slap. And it's deserved. Oversight committees don't investigate. They perform. They protect institutions, not people.
Now let's talk about the bodyguard law, the part that changes everything. The bill says hospitals use isolation to control the narrative, and then it lays out the 4-hour rule. If a patient or family demands a trained independent advocate, the hospital must grant access within 4 hours. That is revolutionary. It gives families a legal witness. It gives patients a shield. It gives truth a seat in the room.
And then the bill says interference is an offense, meaning if a doctor or administrator blocks an advocate, they face sanctions. Real ones, finally.
Then the bill says, under the Edmonds Act, the medical chart is a legal crime scene, and conviction carries a mandatory minimum prison sentence. A corporate fine cannot substitute for a prison cell. That's unprecedented. Record tampering becomes a felony, not a slap on the wrist, not a meeting, prison.
And this line is going to terrify every hospital attorney in the country. Responding to a family's records request with legal threats triggers an immediate mandatory investigation by the Attorney General. That's a seismic shift. It criminalizes intimidation.
When the bill states, "I doubt there has ever been a bill like this presented," that's the author acknowledging the magnitude.
And then the ones who tear me apart for it just look complicit. That's not politics. That's courage. That's someone who's done being silenced.
All right, now let's talk about the part nobody ever explains. What does it actually take for a bill like this to survive? Because this isn't a soft bill. This is a bill that calls out a system by name, and systems don't go quietly. Step 1, introduction and sponsorship. Dr. Tyler?
First, the bill needs a sponsor in the Missouri legislature. Is someone willing to put their name on it? That alone is a hurdle. Why? Because this bill doesn't whisper. It accuses. It names harm. It threatens entrenched power. Any lawmaker who sponsors it will immediately face pressure from hospital lobbyists, insurance groups, and corporate healthcare networks.
And let's be honest, and those groups have money, influence, and relationships. They will try to kill this bill before it even gets printed. Step 2, committee assignment. Hope.
Once it's introduced, it goes to committee. This is where most bills die, quietly, without a vote, without a headline. And this bill, it's going to hit committees filled with people who have long-standing ties to hospital boards, donors, and medical associations.
From a psychological standpoint, committee members will experience identity threat. This bill says, the system you've trusted is harming people. That creates defensiveness. Defensiveness creates resistance.
Step 3, public hearings. Dr. Tyler.
This is where the fireworks happen. Public testimony, families, whistleblowers, experts, but also hospital attorneys, lobbyists, PR representatives, insurance executives.
And they will come prepared. They will try to frame this bill as too extreme, it's too emotional, too punitive, or too disruptive. They will say it will hurt rural hospitals, increase costs, or drive doctors away. None of that is true, but it will be said. Step 4, lobbying pressure. Pete.
Let's talk about blowback, because it's coming. Hospitals will not fight this bill in public first. They will fight it behind closed doors. Phone calls, private meetings, threats of withdrawing donations, warnings about economic impact. This is psychological warfare dressed as policy.
And they will target the sponsor, they will target supporters, they will target anyone who speaks up, because this bill threatens the culture they rely on. the culture that lets them hide mistakes.
Step 5, media narrative. And expect the media blowback too, not from independent journalists, but from hospital-aligned outlets. They'll run stories questioning the bill's tone. They'll say it's too harsh. They'll try to paint the author as angry, emotional, or misinformed. Classic discrediting tactics.
They'll also try to shift the narrative from systemic harm to isolated incidents, from accountability to sympathy for institutions, from truth to both sides.
Step 6, floor debate. Dr. Tyler.
If the bill survives committee, it goes to the floor. This is where lawmakers must publicly defend their vote. And this bill contains lines like, they treat sick human beings like worthless pieces of trash. Human organs have been turned into gold bars. The medical chart is a legal crime scene. Those lines will be read aloud. They will shake the room. They will force lawmakers to confront what they've ignored.
Step 7, passage in Missouri. If it passes in Missouri, then that will take courage. Then it becomes a national story because no state has ever passed a bill like this, not one. Step 8, taking it to Washington.
Once it reaches Washington, the stakes multiply. Federal lobbyists, national hospital networks, insurance giants, organ procurement organizations, pharmaceutical companies. This bill threatens all of them, not because it's extreme, but because it's honest.
All right, panel, now the blowback summary. Panel rapid fire. Hope.
They'll say it's too emotional.
So they'll say it's too disruptive.
They'll say it's too accusatory.
They'll say it's too dangerous.
But what they really mean is, it's too truthful.
Bills like this don't fail because they're wrong. They fail because they're right, and right threatens power.
But this time, the truth is louder than the system.
And the public is paying attention.
And once a bill like this exists, you can't unhear it. You can't unsee it. You can't unknow it.
All right, we've talked about the hurdles. Now let's talk about the path forward, because bills don't pass on outrage alone. They pass on strategy.
The first thing that pushes a bill like this forward is documentation, not just stories, patterns. When you have hundreds of families reporting the same behaviors, the same retaliation, the same missing records, that becomes evidence.
And lawmakers respond to evidence, not emotion, evidence.
Next, you need coalitions, not just individuals, groups, patient safety organizations, whistleblower networks, medical ethicists, legal scholars, advocacy groups. When coalitions endorse a bill, it signals legitimacy. It tells lawmakers this isn't one person shouting, this is a movement.
You need a sponsor who isn't afraid of blowback, someone who can withstand pressure, lobbying, and public scrutiny. Psychologically, this person must have high resilience, low susceptibility to social pressure, strong moral identity, and a willingness to take heat, because this bill will generate heat.
Public hearings are where bills live or die. You need testimony that is concise, factual, emotionally grounded, and impossible to dismiss. Families who speak clearly, experts who speak boldly, whistleblowers who speak truthfully.
And you need to anticipate the counter-arguments and dismantle them before they're spoken.
Public opinion matters, not because lawmakers follow it, but because it creates pressure. You need consistent messaging, clear explanations, real stories, and a narrative that cannot be twisted. The bill already has powerful language, but the public needs to understand why that language exists.
Host forums, town halls, panel discussions, like this one. When experts break down the bill publicly, it becomes harder for opponents to misrepresent it. It becomes harder to dismiss. It becomes harder to ignore.
Most lawmakers don't understand hospital operations. They don't understand charting systems. They don't understand organ procurement. They don't understand retaliation culture. You have to teach them privately, calmly, factually. When lawmakers understand the harm, they become harder to manipulate.
If Missouri passes it, and even through committee, national outlets will pick it up. And once it becomes a national conversation, Washington can't ignore it.
Federal bills often begin as state bills. If Missouri moves first, it becomes the blueprint.
Opponents will try to discredit the author. They'll try to discredit supporters. They'll try to discredit families. You need a strategy to protect them, clear communication, documented facts, legal support, and a unified message. When the messenger is protected, the message survives.
Finally, relentless transparency, every step, every hearing, every vote, every attempt to bury it. When the public sees the process, lawmakers behave differently. Sunlight changes outcomes.
This bill is bold, but bold bills pass when people refuse to back down.
When the truth is undeniable, resistance becomes expensive.
And once a bill like this enters the public consciousness, it becomes very hard to kill.
This is how you push it through. Not with noise, like with strategy. Well, Let's end with the bill's own words. Whether the politicians have the spine to pass it or not, the truth is out. And the Edmonds Act is the reckoning.
It's accountability.
It's precedent.
And it's long overdue. We want to leave you with something very simple, something that shouldn't require a bill, a fight, or a movement, something that should already be standard in every hospital in America.
We encourage you, every listener, every family, every survivor, to go to WeMatter.life. Sign the petition. Tell your story. Whistleblow if you need to. You can remain anonymous if you like. Your voice matters either way.
And here's the bottom line. The part nobody wants to say out loud. The third leading cause of death in the United States is medical error, according to multiple peer-reviewed studies and national analyses. Not cancer, not car accidents, not violence. Medical error.
So ask yourself, if your spouse, your child, your parent, your loved one was in a hospital bed, would an independent third party watching over their care make them safer? Would a trained advocate help prevent mistakes? Would a second set of eyes protect them from negligence?
And ask yourself this. Did you know medical records can be altered? Did you know they can be changed to protect a professional or an establishment? Did you know that right now, it is not a criminal act to change a medical record, even if that change leads to devastating harm?
That's why this bill exists. Not because it's radical, but because it's common sense, because it's what should already be happening, because protecting patients should be business as usual.
If you feel like pharmaceuticals, hospital systems, and corporate medicine have lost sight of what healthcare was supposed to be, if you feel like the system has drifted away from humanity, if you feel like profit has replaced purpose, then this may be your only chance to help steer it back.
This isn't extreme. This isn't complicated. This isn't political. This is survival. This is accountability. This is what medicine was meant to be.
So again, go to WeMatter.life. Sign the petition. Tell your story. Whistleblow if you need to. Stay anonymous if you want, but don't stay silent.
Because the truth is simple. If we don't fix this system, and it will keep killing people, and if we don't speak up now, we may not get another chance. This is Vital Signs and Verdicts. Patients over profits, humanity over systems, and the movement starts with you.